So, my name is Gideon. I'm a third year public service and public policy student at Arizona State University. So, I'm doing this interview because I'm on the autism spectrum. Day to day, I guess it's maybe gotten better as I've gotten older, but
Mhm.
it still is like, social cues are not second nature for me in a lot of regards. Like a lot of stuff that people get, and I'm not exactly somebody you would call the least socially adept person you've ever met, but it isn't second nature to me. It's something I kind of had to learn in a way. Like, I think to some degree, everyone has to learn like social norms, but like a lot of stuff that comes second nature to neurotypicals doesn't to me. My head, or just even in the way I find myself engaging in conversations differently. Apparently, I've had to say day to day, like, it would be nice to not have things fly over my head. Like, since I've had to, develop this social toolbox in a deeper way than most people do, is given me a better understanding of like and analyzing how people relate to each other. Like, I can break stuff down in terms of how people relate to each other, maybe a bit differently than I hear, my friends who aren't on the spectrum do so. And I guess in some ways it gives me a weird kind of insight because, I'm not entirely quote unquote in on the game in the same way as everybody else. It's kind of like I have both the insider's view of being, a part of society and the outsider's view of not being a part of it in the same way. Also, through the years, thank goodness, as a, I got a lot of support services as a kid that, taught me a lot of valuable skills so that I'm able to, have the life I do in the
Mhm.
way I do. And that is, that's great. It's, I think every person, no matter what their ability be, whatever it be, that they deserve to have a dignified existence, to live with dignity and respect, and to have, to be an individual, but also to be a part of something bigger too. Like, I think everybody should have that. And, thanks to a lot of support I got, I get to have that, and a lot of other people in the same shoes as mine, even those with higher support needs than I have, get to have that. I really want to say, like, everyone's experience on the spectrum is different. Like, as an autistic person, you can go ask 5 autistic people, what's it like, being autistic, and you'll get 5 different answers. And for me, it was, I'm somebody who is kind of social, which, is not a stereotypical aspect of it, but that's my experience. I'm somebody who was, but also somebody, so the kind of, incongruence with me being somebody who's kind of social and then being somebody who really doesn't fit in is kind of a wreck. And that did lead to some not pleasant situations. But also, as I got older, I started realizing more people around me were neurodivergent of some variety. And, we share, even if not the same diagnosis, like something very in common. The way our brains work is not necessarily, the quote unquote normal. So I found that, especially being around people who are similar in that regard has really, I've been able to learn a lot more.
Mhm.
There are people I've been able to grow around. And it's funny, it wasn't intentional one bit, neither, like, not at all intentional. And, looking back now in college, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm, just think about my friends. So, even just from like high school and college, it's like a very, very large percentage of them are some kind of neurodivergent through no attempt of my own. We just all seem to flock near each other and,
Mhm.
kind of grow around each other. Yeah, no, it's the fact that I've been able to take refuge in these people, like, and be able to, live life among them is wonderful. And once again, it's just, I think it's just an example of, the way people, for better or for worse, and definitely this can be bad in in certain contexts, people flock around people who share some commonalities with them.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of my interests are not like ones associated with traditionally, with the stereo, because once again, there's stereotypes about autistic people. My interests don't actually align with them. Like, I'm a public policy student. I do some journalism. I guess what I want to say is there is no one experience. The reason why, the term autism spectrum is used because it does vary. Like, it looks different in everybody, and I just want people to understand we're individuals, we're not a monolith. you know uh we're your neighbors. Like, you almost, like, I forget what the percentage of autistic people in the United States is, but I think it's somewhere in the single digits. I know that, but I feel pretty safe saying that most people actually do know somebody who's autistic in their lives,
Mhm.
that they know at least one person. And so we're here, we're your community members, we're your brothers, your sisters, in some cases your parents, your nieces, your nephews, your
Mhm.
cousins, we're your friends, we're your neighbors next door. Like, please don't pity me. Like, this is not to minimize the challenges, not in the least, but this is to say that we are people. Look at us as people. As somebody who especially as a kid, got a lot of support services, especially in speech therapy and occupational therapy, it's a real blessing, being able to, communicate well with my peers and also write decently. I mean, my handwriting's not winning any awards, but but it does the job. Yeah, no, and I'm so thankful of groups like Therapists Beyond Borders doing the important work of, like, this is not, once again, this is not some fancy or some optional thing. These are things that people need to be able to live dignified lives. So these are things that allow people, like, to be able to choose what they do, like, that give them agency.